Hello and welcome to Blush, the world's first wellness show that's actually entertaining. I'm Hiva and I quit law so I can help you look and feel your best. Together we get into food, nutrition, all the latest wellness trends, but we also laugh, get silly, drop a few F-bombs and go on a million tangents. So if that sounds like your vibe, we're about to be best friends. Okay, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know how to start the podcast anymore now that I have the intro. What the fuck do I say in the beginning? I don't know how to not say hello and welcome back to another episode of Blush. I'm your host, Hiva. It feels so weird not saying it. By the way, when I decided to do that, I was talking to Ozzy and I said, I want to make an opening credits for the show. And he goes, well, who are you crediting? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, opening credits mean credits. As in there are actual credits. You're crediting the people who are involved in the show. And I was like, well, I don't know, myself, I guess. Could you imagine if in writing it said written by Hiva, directed by Hiva, acted by Hiva, produced by Hiva, edited by Hiva, sound Hiva, like everything Hiva, like whatever. Anyway, so yeah, now that we have the talking over intro, I'm not going to say welcome back to Blush because you just heard welcome back to Blush, but what the fuck do I do in the beginning? I don't know how to do this. This feels weird. Anyway, I'm hoping that we are past Soundgate. I did do a test run of this. I uploaded it to the computer and everything looked good. So, but I'm really fucking nervous. I mean, what a shit show that episode was. But let's brush past that and move right along to Blush Kitchen. So I'm going to break the fourth wall a little bit. By the way, just a moment for the stress, which my friend, I was trying to decide between the white and the black and NGL. I ended up ordering both. And I'm so glad that I did because it's one of the most stunning things I've ever owned. But when I was trying to decide, I sent the link to a few friends who all kind of had different feedback. But one of my friends said, order the white. It looks like it belongs in MoMA. It's a piece of art. The black is a beautiful black blazer dress, but the white is a piece of art. And I don't think anyone has ever said anything more true about any topic in the history of humanity. So shout out to my friend Sophia. Love you, bitch. Could not have directed me in a better way. Anyway, so I'm going to break the fourth wall. Today's Tuesday, a week before this episode drops. It is the day that I dropped Blush Kitchen, so I feel like I just have to kind of address it. Sorry if you're hearing the eucalyptus shuffling a lot. I need to fix the mic situation. And you know what? I think it's time for us to get some fresh eucalyptus because this has seen some better days. Anyway, so Blush Kitchen came out today, and I've been working on this for a while. I've kind of been teasing on the podcast that there was something new coming, a change coming, and we dropped it. So I did go over it in that episode, but I want to reiterate. So you guys know, so now we basically have almost our entire month structured. So the first Tuesday of every month is going to be Blush Kitchen. I'll be in the fucking kitchen. I won't be sitting in this studio. It's going to be hands-on. It's going to be food, recipes, and the usual yapping. Still have not bothered to look up whether yapping is offensive or not. I do say it pretty infrequently, but I would like to start saying it a hell of a lot more. So I just need to know if it's offensive or not. Anyway, brushing past that. So then the second Tuesday of the month is Hot or Not, which is exactly what we're doing today. The third and potentially fourth for some months that end up having 5 Tuesdays are kind of open blank space where anything could happen. Hide your wife, hide your kids, anything could happen. And then the last Tuesday of the month is Q&A where I answer your questions. So yeah, anyway, please do share. First of all, please go subscribe on YouTube because I literally have 65 subscribers, which is honestly kind of fucking embarrassing. But beyond that, I think you have to reach 1,000 to be able to use all of the functions. So if we could just get it to 1,000, that would be lovely. Number two, if you could just share the episode with people, I love it so much. I poured my heart and soul into it, and I'm not going to lie, it's an insane amount of work. It also, I lost my train of thought so many times, and I'm already a very tangent-y person, as you guys know from this show right here. But in the kitchen, as I'm doing other things, I could not stay focused. I also forgot to have, usually on the day of recording, I like to have a little caffeine. There's actually one specific drink that I like to have. It's this drink called Buzz. It's marketed as an alcohol alternative, one of those NA type drinks. But honestly, it has caffeine in it and it belongs in the morning. I don't know why anyone would drink it at night. It belongs in the morning. It'll get you so fucking wired. I also find it to be a bit of an appetite suppressant. It's honestly a tiny, it's like a very, very, very mellow version of Adderall is the best way I would describe it. So I'd like to have that on the days that I record, but I forgot to have it that day. And I got so hungry while recording. And I didn't think this would be an issue because there was food there. So, I thought I'd be eating a bit more. But I mean, I would say, and I also recorded for 2 hours. I cut it down to an hour and 40 minutes. I didn't cut out anything meaningful. The only things I was cutting out is when I went to wash a dish or when I went out of frame or things like that I cut out. But other than that, I recorded for 2 fucking hours, which I did not see coming. I thought it was going to be a nice tight 1 hour, but yeah, the entire second half, I was on the verge of fainting. I was so out of it, but it was so fucking fun. And now that I do this, by the way, it feels like the easiest thing in the world relative to that, but it's so fun. And the other thing I want to say about the episode is everything I talk about, everything you see, pretty much every single thing is linked. So I put a link where I say shop this episode and everything is there. The only thing I can think of that isn't there is the outfit I was wearing, the black set. And I perused the Zara website for an hour trying to find it. But I'm sorry, but the Zara website is so bad that sometimes I wonder if they don't want us to shop there. Like, is there a chance that Zara started as a front for the mob or something and they didn't anticipate it to do well, and then all of a sudden people started buying the shit and they were like, oh fuck, I guess we're gonna have to actually come out with these products, but in order to discourage us from shopping it, they made the website the way that they did, because I really can't think of a whole lot of other explanations as to why they would do that. It's pretty fucking nutty. It makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, so please do go check out Blush Kitchen. It's my baby. I love it so much. I'm so excited about it. Honestly, if I could, I would make every single episode a Blush Kitchen episode, but it's literally not feasible unless I hire an entire team. And that's not feasible unless the show does really fucking well. So you know what? You guys blow it the fuck up. Share it with your family and your friends, and you will get so much Blush Kitchen up your wazoo that you're going to wish you had it. No, I'm actually kind of now discouraging you guys from doing it. Anyway, I'm so sorry. It is insanely noisy outside. I'm really hoping the mic isn't picking it up, although if I'm out here hoping and praying for things that the mic could or could not be doing, I'm going to focus my efforts on the mic not doing what the fuck it did last time. Jesus, that was such a mess. Anyway, so it is Hot or Not this week, and I'm obsessed with the trends for this week, starting with I don't know why I think this is one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my entire life, but there is a trend on TikTok of people doing quote unquote adult tummy time. I'm going to say it again, just in case you hadn't heard, adult tummy time. Now let's backtrack. If you are a childless person like myself, and let's say you don't have a ton of friends who have kids, you might be like, what the fuck is tummy time? I remember having this feeling around 5 years ago when a lot of my kids were having kids. You may not know it, but I'm a grandma. No, a lot of my friends were having kids. I noticed that they would post on social media about quote unquote tummy time. And so I reached out to my sister-in-law and I said, hey, I have a question for you. What the fuck is tummy time and why does everyone talk about it so much? And she explained to me that apparently it's this thing that you have to do, and all the mothers listening are going to roll their eyes because I'm sure I'm going to explain it wrong. But my understanding is that you have to put your baby on its tummy for a period of time. I don't know the frequency with which they do this. I would imagine it's kind of a daily endeavor, but what the fuck do I know? As I just explained, I have not had children, although I did a minute ago say all of my children's children. So in that hypothetical, I've not only had kids, but they've all also had kids. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, tummy time. So the babies, I guess they have to lay on their tummies for a period of time to strengthen the neck. Because I guess when you're on your tummy, you're not just going to face plant into the ground and go nose down into the ground. Your natural instinct is to kind of lift the face and head up, and then that would automatically lift the neck. And we're on to our first tangent of the episode. Honestly, I'm shocked it took as long as it did. I think it's because of that Bon Buzz drink, right? She stayed laser focused for a period of time. Okay, so there's this girl that goes to solid core around the same time. She generally is in the same classes as me. So she generally goes the same time. Now, I had never really noticed her existence until one day. Let's call her Laura or Lara. Laura, let's call her Laura. So this girl, Laura, I really had never noticed her existence, really could never have picked her out of a lineup. I'd never talked to her. However, on one particular day, we're in solid core and it's, a few minutes into class and I start hearing voices, which is unusual because something about solid core is they play music very, very loudly. Very loudly. So loudly that even if I wanted to talk to someone, I don't know how I could successfully do so. So loudly that I sometimes moan or grunt in class, and I kind of love it because no one can hear me. I wouldn't do that shit if it were silent, but because it is so loud, I will occasionally let out a little moan or a grunt knowing no one could ever hear me. Anyway, so I start hearing voices. And again, that's unusual to be able to hear voices over that music. And I'm kind of looking around trying to figure out where it's coming from because it's kind of a lot. It's more than just one sentence. It's kind of a lot. And I find the source and it's two chicks. And it keeps going. I mean, this is kind of several minutes now that this is going on. And I keep looking and it looks like it's two girls fighting and it's getting louder and it's getting louder. And it's getting to the point where it looks like they're about to start slapping each other. I mean, it's a straight up cat fight situation. They are yelling at each other. I mean, I would imagine yelling kind of loudly if we can all hear. Now, we don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but it's very clear that these two are fighting. And so literally the entire class, we're all kind of staring at each other, so confused. What the fuck is going on? Are they filming the housewives in here? I mean, that is one of the only possible explanations as to what the fuck is going on. And then both girls within a few minutes leave class. And I mean, it is the largest disruption to class I've ever seen, witnessed, heard of, anything. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Now, as someone who does watch a lot of Bravo, I personally love the shit out of it. And all I could think about is what the fuck happened. So class ends. Whatever, no one really knows. And I go to Whole Foods. The solid core location that I go to is right by a Whole Foods. So I pop over to a Whole Foods right afterwards. And then I run into a chick who works at solid core. And I said, hey, babe, what the fuck was that? And she said, oh my God. Okay, so this girl, Laura, apparently is late all the time. And solid core, as you would imagine, as most workout classes, has a late policy. So usually you have a bit of a grace period, maybe a couple of minutes. And then after that, you can't come in because it is highly disruptive to the class. I mean, it makes sense. I think it's a very reasonable policy, much like their cancellation policy, I think is very reasonable. You have up until 10 hours before the class to cancel. After that, if you cancel, you either forfeit your class credit, or if you're in an unlimited membership, you get charged. I think that's really reasonable because there's only so many slots. And so if you're a no-show, that's a slot that someone else could have taken. Very reasonable policy, much like their late policies. I would say exceptionally reasonable. So this girl apparently is late all the time, and it's a big thing, and the coaches don't like it. It's really disruptive. So one of the girls in said fight was this Laura girl. The other girl was a girl who works at Solid Core, who was not the instructor. And basically she, as Laura was going into class, told her, hey, you're too late, you can't go in. Laura went in anyway. So she followed her in and she said, hey, you're late, you can't be here. And then this whole massive fight ensued, which was hilarious because honestly, if Laura had just come in and taken the class, it would have been far less disruptive than the Bravo housewives style fight that these two ensued upon for approximately 5 solid minutes of class. I mean, it was actually kind of apeshit. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. It was nevertheless one of the highlights of my life. I hope it happens again every single day from now until the day I die, because it was so fucking funny. Anyway, the reason I thought of it is because I ever since don't really like this Laura girl. Like I said, before that, I'd never really noticed her existence. And in all fairness, I've literally never spoken to her. And sometimes I don't like people until I actually make an effort to get to know them. And then I realize they're actually really lovely people. So for all I know, Laura's a really lovely person. But I do think that Solid Core doesn't like her. I do think the coaches don't like her. I do think that she maybe is rude or disrespectful. I mean, she was straight up fighting with this girl, fighting with her in class. If it had been me, I would have been like, I am leaving. I'm so sorry, and I will never come back again. I will never show my face here again. But the brazenness with which she was yelling at this girl, saying that she refused to leave, I do think in the end she actually did have to leave. Honestly, I'm shocked no one was arrested. It was so nutty. But anyway, so I just don't really like this girl, and I just find everything about her to be off-putting. And I think it was yesterday or the day before in class, we were doing this move, which I will say is one of the hardest upper body moves that we do in Solid Core. So it's what they call an upright bicep curl. And keep in mind, in Solid Core, we're on Pilates reformer machines. So everything is different. For example, the way, for example, a shoulder press normally in a normal workout setting with weights, you go straight up and down. But in Solid Core, you have to go on a diagonal because of the way the cables are attached to the springs. So an upright bicep curl, you're sitting in kind of a V shape. So you're leaning at a 45-degree angle and you have your knees bent, and you're supposed to keep your arms up kind of parallel with the floor and then do a bicep curl like that. It's really fucking hard. It's one of the hardest moves in Solid Core. And this girl was Laura was kind of almost directly in front of me, so I could see what she was doing. And she would throw her head back in the weirdest way while she was doing the bicep curls. It was honestly one of the most off-putting things I've ever seen. It reminded me of, have you ever seen men putting on chapstick? Some men do it normally, but most men putting on chapstick is one of the most, I have never had the ick more. In fact, I was at an event. I'm not going to say what kind of event, because if I say what kind of event it was, everyone will know who I'm talking about. But I was at an event where there was a speaker, and the speaker is this man who I do really admire, who says really powerful, great things. And he's a very attractive, handsome man. He whipped out his chapstick to put on chapstick, and I nearly vomited in my mouth. It was truly one of the most off-putting things I've ever seen in my entire life. I was just sitting there watching, being like, what the fuck is this dude doing? Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, the adult tummy time just reminded me, because you have to kind of inflect that neck right like that, right? So yeah, she was kind of doing her own version of bizarro tummy time. Okay, so I heard about this trend on a podcast, actually, shout out to Giggly Squad, and then I looked into it. And I asked ChatGPT about it, and I'm going to read exactly what ChatGPT told me because I thought it was really beautifully said, and I honestly don't think I could have worded it any better. Chat said, adult tummy time is a wellness trend gaining popularity on TikTok, where adults lie on their stomachs for about 10 minutes a day while engaging in passive activities like reading, journaling, or scrolling through their phones. The practice is inspired by the infant exercise designed to build strength and coordination, but in adults, it's being used to counteract tech neck and poor posture caused by prolonged screen time. Now, I don't know why I find this to be so funny. I would imagine it's because it's something that infants do and the fact that adults do it, right? If you just called it posture training or any number of things, it wouldn't be funny. But to call it adult tummy time to me is so funny. I mean, it's analogous to saying, oh, adult potty training. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like we should all have capability over our necks now, right? But anyway, so the purported benefits of adult tummy time are strengthening the neck and upper back, reducing forward head posture and alleviating tension in the shoulders and in the traps, and interrupting the slouch that most of us have. Again, most of these things are caused by us using tech so much, right? Especially when we look at our phones, we're all looking down. When we're at our computers, even a lot of us are looking down. We're slouching 24/7, and all of us have neck and trap pain, right? All of us. I mean, I get Botox in my traps, so that does alleviate a lot of the trapezius pain, but I still have neck pain because I'm a person alive in 2025. You know, find me one who doesn't. Maybe all the fucking people who are doing adult tummy time. So I started to look into, is this legit or not? Obviously, there are no studies on it. Although what I wouldn't give to have someone fund a study on this, and I need in the medical journal for adult tummy time to be in the title. Does everyone else think that's funny, or is it just me? I just think it's fucking hilarious. Anyway. So yeah, obviously there are no studies on this, but it's actually rooted in well-established physical therapy principles. So lying in what they call prone position, which is on your stomach, which who knew? I mean, what the fuck does prone mean? Does prone mean stomach? Or I don't know. Anyway, it encourages spinal extension and it engages the posterior chain muscles, which can counteract the effects of prolonged sitting and forward head posture, which is commonly referred to as tech neck. So it is really rooted in things that people have been doing for a long time. It's just that it didn't have this cute, trendy term and it wasn't yet on TikTok. So now it's catching on. As far as safety, it is not suitable for pregnant people, people with spine issues, or people with recent surgeries. And ChatGPT was very demanding that I make this point clear, exact how-to of how to do this. So you want to lie on your stomach. You want your forearms extended in front of you, elbows slightly ahead of shoulders, and shoulders relaxed away from your ears. So you want to keep the back of your neck long, and you don't want to shrug your shoulders into your ears. Now, as I was outlining this very episode this morning, which, by the way, what a hectic morning, because I basically spent the entire first half of the morning promoting Lush Kitchen and then immediately shifting gears to finishing outlining this episode and getting it up, because I do have to bank a couple of episodes because a close family friend of mine was diagnosed with endometrial cancer and she's having surgery next week. So Ozzy and I and Samantha are going down to DC for a few days to be with her and check on her and visit my family, yada, yada. Anyway, so not to make it dark all of a sudden. And I have to say, historically, this is something that I would totally milk to get attention from people. Like, oh my God, my family friend who I'm so close to was diagnosed with cancer. But I'll be really real with you. I've been so stoic about it. Maybe it's because I'm in denial and it hasn't fully hit me. Maybe it's because I'm so convinced that they caught it so early that it's not going to be a big deal. I would imagine it's a combination of the two. It does sound like a bit of denial, but I really am not very affected right this second. Maybe I'll feel differently when we go down there. All that to say is I'm not dropping this to get attention, even though I usually love attention and would, I have to say though, now that I do this as a job, I don't feel the need to use other things to get attention. Like I don't get big about my birthday. I don't really care to have a wedding. I don't milk it when I'm sick. I don't use these old tactics that I used to use to get attention, because now I'd so much rather get attention through my craft, if you will, than these other means. Anyway, why did we go on that bizarre tangent? A normal person would cut it out, but we've already established that that is not an option that's available to me, and not cutting out, I mean, normalcy is it's not a virtue I was blessed with. So let's just move right along from that. So I did test it out this morning while I was researching and outlining this episode. And I have to say, it really fucking strengthens your back. I mean, you can feel it within a minute, and I have a pretty strong back. I mean, I lift, not to brag, and the back is actually my favorite muscle group to work out. Fun fact about me, it used to be glutes, but I really, twofold. A, because I always wanted to get bigger glutes, and then eventually I just kind of gave up on that pipe dream. I realized my glutes are what they are, and I may have a flat ass, and that's fine, that's fine. It's, I guess I will never fulfill my dreams of being a stripper. But you know what? No one would like me to strip. There is not one person on the face of the planet who would enjoy me stripping. Anyway, why are we talking about glutes? Oh, okay. Yeah, it used to be glutes, in part because I wanted them to be bigger, but also in part because I had heard that it's the most important muscle group to really weight train, because it's the largest muscle. And so if you build a lot of muscle there, it's going to do so much for you as far as metabolism, yada, yada, yada. But now for me, it's back. And that's for a couple of reasons. It's still a very large muscle group, but also it really affects your posture, and posture is something that I'm naturally very weak at. And posture is also, if you want to instantly look more attractive and confident, have better posture. Nothing will affect how you show up in the world more than your posture. And training your back is the easiest way to have good posture. And honestly, when I used to do a lot of posture exercises. In fact, if you're in the Blush Academy in the morning, it's such a big part of the morning wind up, but I haven't been doing the morning wind up. I need to go back to doing the morning wind up. I think that's the takeaway from this, because when I stopped training those upper back muscles specifically for posture, my posture goes so quickly. It's one of those things I have to really, really maintain constantly. So I have to say, I think I need to start incorporating adult tummy time into my daily routine. Now, here's one thing I will say. I think it could potentially be bad for your digestion, but I think one way you could counteract that and actually make it even better for your digestion is to roll up a towel and put it under your lower belly. I've heard that that's really good for fascia release. Fascia is the connective tissues between muscles and tendon, maybe. I'm not entirely sure what fascia connects, but I know we have this whole fascia network all over our bodies. And so I've heard from fascia release experts that putting a rolled up towel under your lower belly can help release the fascia there. That can actually help with constipation. So you could kind of do a bit of a double whammy there. Or if you have a vibrating ball, if you put it there, that's another thing that I've heard that can help with constipation. I don't know that it's really helped me with constipation. I think a little vibration in the taint can sometimes help with constipation though. Anyway, I think I'm going to have to start incorporating some adult tummy time into my life because, as you maybe can tell, my posture has seen better days. Okay, moving on to the next trend. This one I love because it's one of those things that I feel like all of a sudden was in the zeitgeist, and it was one of those things where it's like no one was talking about it, and then all of a sudden everyone was talking about it in a way as though we've always known about this and should have always been doing this. And that is double cleansing. And by double cleansing, I mean double cleansing the skin. Now, double cleansing refers to first doing an oil-based cleanser and then doing a water-based cleanser. And I'll be really fucking real with y'all. Until I did I can't believe I just said y'all, by the way. We're just going to brush right past that one because she is not Southern. So until this morning, when I was doing adult tummy time and researching and outlining this episode, I literally thought double cleansing just meant washing your face twice. So I've been doing that for approximately a month. I just cleanse the skin twice. I had not one iota of a clue that it meant oil-based cleanser first, then water-based cleanser. Now, I will say I did know that you should do that when you wear makeup, but I don't usually wear makeup. So I thought that outside of wearing makeup, you should still double cleanse, meaning you should just use your regular cleanser twice. And that is literally not what it means. It means oil-based cleanser first and water-based cleanser second. And the idea is that the oil-based cleanser removes oil-based impurities like makeup, sunscreen, and excess sebum, and water-based cleanser then eliminates the water-based debris like sweat and dirt. So and I've heard all over TikTok that this is a Korean beauty thing or whatever. And so I decided to look up, is that actually true? And here's what I found. The origins actually do come from Asia, specifically Korea and Japan, where double cleansing has been practiced since the 14th century. Japanese geishas used oil cleansers followed by foaming cleansers to remove their white makeup. And in Korea, this method became integral to the 10-step skincare routine, emphasizing gentle and effective cleansing. Now, what is the Korean 10-step skincare? Jesus, it's like Sally collects seashells at the Seychelles at the shore. What the fuck is that? Tongue twister. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Okay, I don't even know. Was it Shelly shucks seashells at the seashore? It's definitely not shucks, but I don't know what the fuck it is. Anyway, what is the Korean 10-step skincare routine? I have not one iota of a clue, but I need to fucking find out because that sounds like something I need in my life. Not that I need even more skincare products. The way that I have channeled every bit of anxiety I've ever had in my entire life into my skincare, you guys would not believe. I'm just constantly researching and finding, and I'm testing out new products, and sometimes I don't like them, and then I give them to the cleaning lady and she loves it because I'll use something once and be like, no, I don't like this. Here, Christina, do you want it? And she's obsessed. It's kind of a win-win-win for everyone except for my personal bank account, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so yeah, it really does originate in Asia, and it's gotten really popular because of TikTok. So I did some research. Is this legit? Is there science to it? And dermatologists pretty much across the board all agree that this is beneficial. The oil cleansing is kind of necessary for removing makeup. It's kind of like your makeup really will not come off well without an oil-based cleanser. And a key here is you don't want to wet the skin first. You actually want to put the oil cleanser directly onto the skin so that it can really bind well with the makeup and pull it off. And then the water-based cleanser removes the residual impurities and prevents clogged pores. And when you have that cleaner canvas, your products and your serums are going to absorb way better. So double cleansing is most important for people who wear makeup, people who wear sunscreen, people who live in big cities, because the double cleansing helps remove the pollutants and the grime that accumulates throughout the day when you live in a big city. But it's also really fucking important for people with acne prone skin, which shocked me because a lot of oils can be pore clogging and not ideal for people with acne prone skin. But I did a ton of research into this, and this is really interesting because I thought, well, wouldn't oil-based cleansing cause breakouts in some people? And here's the thing, it can, because some oils are more likely to clog pores, things like coconut oil, wheat germ oil, or of course beef tallow, as we've talked about in the past. However, double cleansing usually helps people with acne prone skin because it helps manage sebum production. And here's why. Oil binds with oil. So when you're doing your oil-based cleansing, the first step of the cleansing, unless you're a fucking moron like me walking around washing your face 14 times a day thinking that you're doing the right thing. When you're doing the first step, the oil cleansing, that oil is going to bind with the excess oil on your skin. So even if you don't wear makeup, even if you're not wearing sunscreen, which as we've talked about, was it last month or no, it was in that Q&A episode that probably made your ears bleed. As we talked about in that episode, you should be wearing sunscreen. Am I still consistently wearing sunscreen? No, but I did wear it consistently in Mexico City. My issue with sunscreen is I'm not going to wear it in the morning to go to solid core. I'm sorry. I don't want to wear sunscreen for my workout. I want my skin to be able to breathe better. And then, by the time I'm back and showered, etc., I'm usually not leaving the house that much. Or if I am, the sun's already going down, whatever. I'm going to be good about it this summer. But anyway, so even if you're not doing those things, if you have acne prone skin, you should still do it because the oil-based cleanser is going to bind with the excess oil on your skin and pull that off. And then you do the second layer, the water-based cleanser, and that'll strip the residue oil and other impurities off. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We did that. Okay, but here is how to do it. And this is especially for people with acne prone skin. You want to choose I don't know how to pronounce this word. It's comedogenic oil cleanser, aka non-pore clogging oil cleanser. So you want to look for ones with safflower oil, hemp seed oil, grapeseed oil, or a mineral oil. I have an oil-based cleanser for, the once a week when I put on makeup to record this very here podcast. And I have the Aura Heartleaf Pore Cleanser. I will link it. I'll link everything I talk about this episode in the show notes. So just go look for that link. I did look it up and it's actually a really, really good one for people with acne prone skin. And then, so that's the first thing. You want to look for the right oil cleanser. And then you want to make sure that the oil cleanser is emulsifying, aka it turns milky when water is added. So you want to put it on your skin first to let it, bind with everything, and then add water and rub it in and let it turn milky white. And then rinse it off. And then you never, ever, ever want to skip your water-based cleanser. For that, I've been using the CeraVe Renewing Silicic Acid Cleanser. This is not an appropriate cleanser for people with dry skin, but for people with acne-prone skin, it's a phenomenal cleanser. And I actually use it all over my body too. I just use it as my shower gel. You never want to skip the water-based cleanser. And then if you're on acne medication or if you're using a lot of actives like retinoids or benzoyl peroxide, keep the second cleanser mild and hydrating. I will say I do use a retinol and I still use that CeraVe Silicic Acid Cleanser and it's fine for me. My skin it can take a beating. Like I can really use a lot of actives without being impacted, but I do worry sometimes that I'm overstripping my skin. I think a lot of people would say that, but honestly, it's really fucking working. So I don't know what to do. Anyway, so yeah, those are the products that I use. And while we're on cleansing, I want to add one thing. I feel like as a society have not been actually getting clean enough. And when you look at ancient cultures, there's such a rich history of really cleansing the skin, especially the face and the hands and the crevices. I was thinking about this when I was in the shower the other day. So my family's from Iran. You know, Persian culture is a very ancient culture with its own medicine system, with its own beauty rituals, etc. And one thing that I grew up with was a lot of exfoliation. So in Persian culture, there are these exfoliating mitts. Koreans have their own version of it too, that really when you rub it on your skin, it'll just pull off all the dead skin. And then there's this other thing. It's like a white, think like a ball of chalk is kind of what it looks like. We call it sifidab, and you rub it onto a loofah or one of those exfoliating mitts. And I'll use that on my face from time to time. I actually don't do it very frequently. Again, it really exfoliates. And I know in modern time, there's a lot of discussion around exfoliating and over cleansing and stripping the skin and things like that. But I'm not going to tell you what to do and what not to do. I am not a dermatologist, nor am I an esthetician. I barely know anything about skin. I just know my skin does really, really well when it's really cleansed and when I'm pulling that dead skin off. And given that it's such a thing in pretty much all ancient cultures, I do think there's a bit of there. And the other thing I wanted to say is I just started doing this. So, okay, two things. I think that, or really one thing, while we're on the cleansing topic, I think another step to cleansing beyond this form of double cleansing that is really fucking important is using some kind of toner. Now, on my face, I use a rice milk toner. I use the light version because I have more acne prone skin that has niacinamide in it too. But it really gives me that glass skin. It gives me such a natural glow. And I mean, I have makeup on right now, but even when I don't have makeup on, I could have nothing on my skin and my skin will fucking radiate because of that rice milk toner. Now, that is more of a moisturizing toner. But the other thing that I just started doing, and I just started doing this a few days ago, is I bought this glycolic acid toner. Again, I'll link it. It's by The Ordinary. And I've been using it on the crevices. So after I shower and get out and dry, I'll put it onto a cotton pad, which also I use the cotton pads that I use. Someone shouted them out on Amazon, said they're the best cotton pads. They're so much better than other cotton pads. And I was like, really? Like, how different could different cotton pads be? She was not fucking joking. These cotton pads are elite. They are so fucking good. Again, I'll link them. Oh, the other thing I do is I have been drying my face with these towels. The brand is called Clean Cloth. I get them on Amazon. And I got a really chic display case for them. I'll link all those things. What a fucking game changer. Do not use your nasty ass bath towel on your face, okay? The same towel that your boyfriend washes his ball sack on? Absolutely not. You don't need to put ball sack towel on your face. Put Clean Cloth on your face. That's something else my mom has always done my entire life, and I never did it. She just uses regular kitchen paper towels, but these Clean Cloth towels are fucking amazing. Anyway, so I take the cotton pad, I put a little bit of that glycolic acid, whatever, and I'll do it in my armpits, behind my ears, in my elbows, under my knees, pretty much anywhere where there's a crevice, I put it, and I have never smelled better. I've talked about on this podcast how I feel like I have BO, not all the time, but I just feel like for example, Ozzy can wear the same t-shirt 2 weeks in a row and it'll never get stinky. I can't wear the same t-shirt more than once. It will get stinky, but ever since I've been doing this, I've been smelling so fucking good. And I guess it's because it wipes all the dead skin away. And I guess that's really the dead skin had some kind of bacteria that was causing the body odor when it mixed with sweat. I still sweat. I just don't stink anymore. So I just think we haven't been clean enough as a society, quite frankly. And this is coming from a bitch who almost never washes her hair, okay? That should tell you something. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the double cleansing. And guess what? Going forward, I'm going to do the oil-based cleanser every fucking night, and I will report back if I see any differences. Okay, that brings us to our last trend that we're doing this week. And I just want to shout out the fucking angel who submitted this, because I didn't know that this was a trend again. And you know, trends are so cyclical. In fact, this reminds me, someone asked me recently how I feel about the carnivore trend getting so big and people being so off of veganism. And I said, I fucking love it for a couple of reasons. But one of them is I hated when veganism was really trendy and all of these non-vegans were posting vegan stuff. I mean, I love when non-vegans eat vegan things, but when they do it in a way where they're just trying to capitalize on this trend and you're not even vegan and you're trying to benefit off of the movement, it really gives me the ick, and I find it really off-putting and honestly kind of offensive. But the other thing is trends come around. So right now, veganism is in a lull. Amazing. It's going to come back up again. And when it comes back up again, I feel like I'm going to be in a great position. So I actually fucking love it. And this is a trend that I first heard of in 2016, but I think it was around a long time before that. And then it really fizzled out. And I guess it's fucking back again. And I had no idea. And this is such a good one to discuss. And it's the ultra low fat diet trend. So it's really, the idea is that you should be deriving less than 10% of your daily calories from fat. So basically it's 80% carbs, 10% protein, 10% fat. And I heard about it back in 2016. It was really fueled by vegans. Vegans were the ones that were pushing this idea. And I actually did try it out, so I can talk about my own personal experiences. Now, the purported benefits of it are heart health. It helps lower LDL and blood pressure, type 2 diabetes management, even type 1 diabetes, honestly, weight loss, and liver health. So I'm going to kind of address some of the reality through, the categories. So as far as heart health and diabetes, the science really doesn't back this up, more or less at all. Eating diets with moderate fat intake of monosaturated fats is what we see as being most helpful for both heart health and diabetes. There are some studies that show that high fat diets are bad for diabetes, but ultimately the type of fat is a lot more important than the amount of fat. And ideally, you want to really avoid saturated fat. As far as the liver, this one I was shocked by because I actually genuinely thought that high fat diets are bad for the liver, that fat, quote unquote, clogs the liver, and that in order to support the liver, you have to go on really low fat diets. I mean, I've had friends who've done those medical medium liver rescue cleanses where you're eating virtually no fat at all for a period of time. Okay, but it's not true. It's literally not true. So the claim that fat, quote unquote, clogs the liver or that you have to eat low fat to detox the liver or whatever is completely misleading. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is mainly caused by excess calories, not by fat. And again, the type of fat really fucking matters. But this whole idea, it seems to be bullshit. I mean, there's really not one iota of science that backs it up. I was so swindled by this. I was so fucking swindled by this because the types of people who talk about this and who support this claim are people who I would actually really trust. I mean, I was literally shocked. Now, as far as the last claim, the weight loss claim, that one's really interesting. So the person who submitted this even included this quote, "The fat you eat is the fat that you wear." And that quote is actually wrong. What the quote should be is the excess calories you eat is the fat that you wear. But there is some modicum of truth in this, in that fat has twice the amount of calories as protein and carbs gram by gram. So Fat is a lot more calorie dense. And so if you're eating a lot of fat, it's a lot easier to eat excess calories than it is when you're eating a lot of carbs or eating a lot of proteins. So that is the only tether that this thing has to the truth. And when people eat really high fat diets, it's exceptionally hard to lose weight at the end of the day because it's just so easy to go above your daily caloric intake. And when you cut fats down, it's an easier way to cut calories. However, and this is a really important and really big however, when you don't eat enough fat, you most likely are going to have a lot of food noise and you're going to start binging like a motherfucker because your body's going to be screaming for that fat because your body needs fats in order to survive. Specifically, your brain. In fact, the vast majority of the fat that you eat is used by your brain. You have to eat fats in order to protect your brain. So now I'm going to talk about my experience with this because in 2016, I'd see all these fabulous vegan influencer girls who are taking bikini photos in tropical locations with turquoise blue water and white sands and bright colored fruits. And they're talking about this high carb, low fat lifestyle and how it makes it so easy and so effortless to be thin and you can eat in abundance and never have to worry about calories and still look as snatched and sculpted as they do. And I was like, oh my God, sign me up. I mean, I want to be in a pale pink bikini on a white sand, turquoise blue water beach, eating watermelon and looking snatched as fuck and having a six pack and never having to worry about anything. So I started doing this and I kept cutting fats and I kept cutting fats and I kept cutting fats. And guess what happened? The food noise got louder. I started binging. I mean, at some point, I remember every single day, was eating an entire loaf of bread, now a whole grain healthy bread with tomatoes and nothing else, because that was my high carb, low fat, right? Guess what? This bitch got fucking chubby. I mean, not chubby, but I gained weight because I was binging. I couldn't even control myself. My body was just screaming for more nutrients. I literally could not control my eating. And it was just because I was depriving my body of something that it really fucking needed. Fats are incredibly important. Healthy fats feed the brain. Without it, you could have very, very, very serious cognitive side effects, not to mention hormonal imbalances, skin issues, digestive issues, and so much more. So my advice here is we need balance, right? I don't think we need to be living the ketogenic, high fat lifestyle. I don't think that that's healthy for any of the organs in your body. Nor do I think this is healthy for any of the organs in your body. I don't understand why, as a society, we struggle with balance so much. We constantly want to do these crazy fucking things like put beef fat all over our faces or just load ourselves with fat or deprive ourselves of fat or only eat protein, eat 200 grams of protein a day, or eat virtually no protein a day, or eat virtually no carbs, or eat all the carbs we ever see. I mean, none of this is right. Just use your intuition. I think all of us know that all of these diets are wrong. All of us intuitively know. I think there's some element of us that hopes that it's true and that it's real because that seems easier than having balance, but it's not. It's not. It just isn't. We can all use our intuition here. And sorry if it feels like I'm yelling at you. I'm honestly yelling at myself because I've done all of these things. I'm the moron that I'm talking about here. I'm the idiot who wants to find the easy fix and never does and ultimately came to this conclusion. So my advice, have balance. They say a diet of around 25% of your daily calories coming from fat is good. I don't think you need to sit there and measure it. I would just be balanced with it. Now, one thing I want to say, because part of this ultra low fat thing, movement or whatever trend is to avoid oil. I also did that. Now, I don't think that's quite as harmful. I think that there's some value in wanting most of your foods to be whole food sources and to not be one macronutrient extracted from the rest. Just like we demonize sugar, which is just one macronutrient, carb specifically, extracted from the other elements of the food, oil is also just one macronutrient, fat, extracted from the rest of it. I do think that in general, we should opt to eat whole foods as much as possible. I think our glucose should be coming from whole food sources, so it's tied to the fiber and other micronutrients. And I think that our fats should primarily come from whole food sources. That being said, a small amount of oil can often make such a large difference in how something tastes, and therefore make us feel so much more satiated, and therefore actually help us ultimately eat less. And I'll give a few examples. For example, if you're roasting veggies or if you're sauteing, is there a way to do it without oil? Of course. And some veggies, when I roast them, I don't really use oil at all. And I will say in general, I've actually been moving towards steaming things more and more over roasting because of, we talked about this a couple months ago in the Hot or Not. But water-based cooking leads to lower AGEs, which helps us age less. But a small amount of oil when you're roasting a veggie or sauteing a veggie can often make such a massive difference in how it tastes and make you feel so much more satisfied. I do recommend using avocado oil with this, and it can be really helpful to have those spray bottles because that way you can actually use a very modest amount and really properly coat things. The other thing is when it's a really good intensely flavored oil, a small amount of it is going to make such a big difference in the way something tastes. And a really good example of that is toasted sesame oil. I'll use a tablespoon, between 1 to 4 tablespoons of a toasted sesame oil in an Asian type of sauce or dressing. And that's all. It's in the whole batched condiment. It'll be max 4 tablespoons of oil. That's a kind of negligible amount when you look at how much you're getting per serving, but the amount of flavor that it adds, it's like nothing else. And another example of this is in my high protein mayo recipe. I use a very high quality olive oil. The flavor that it adds is so stunning. It just makes it so much more satisfying. I've tried that recipe thousands of ways, including using cashews and other whole food fat sources. It just fucking tastes better with the oil. It's such a modest amount that you're getting per serving. It's really kind of negligible. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, over consuming fats is probably one of the easiest ways to exceed your calorie goals, which would not only affect your body weight, but also affect things like your liver, as we discussed a little bit ago. But cutting fats down too low will not only affect every single element of your health, including your mental health in a very substantial and major way, including your longevity, including your heart health, including every bit of functionality in your body, but it's also likely to backfire from a calories and body weight perspective because you're so fucking likely to start having a lot of food noise and binging and overeating. But I do recommend opting for whole food fat sources when possible, limiting your saturated fat intake. A little bit in moderation is fine. I use a little bit of coconut oil very, very rarely, but I will use it in certain recipes where I'm replicating a cheese type thing. When I'm trying to make a vegan cheese, a little bit of coconut oil. Again, I use it in such moderation, but it really does help give that right texture. And then the biggest thing that I would recommend is always pair your fats with a good fiber source. Always, always, always. And that's honestly advice I'd give for pretty much anything you're consuming at all. Always make sure you're getting that fiber in. Okay, that brings us to the foods that make you blush. Excuse me. So I have 5 foods today that kind of harp on the things that we talked about this week, and they're really, really fun. So the first one is seaweeds, especially, Jesus Christ, specifically, I think I started to say specifically and especially, and my brain just kind of specially, maybe it's a new word we can make up. Maybe we can add it to the blush lexicon along with cunt. That's all we have in there so far. I think everyone knows what that one means. But you guys know when I say cunty, it's actually usually a compliment, unless I'm talking about myself. In that case, I'm just talking about how my personality is really only so at best. Okay, seaweeds, specifically nori, dulse, and kelp. So this is really interesting. I did not know about this until I was researching it this morning while I was doing my adult tummy time. Which honestly, I'm like really excited to do again. So seaweed is really rich in iodine. I did know this. And iodine is essential for thyroid hormone production. I also knew this. This next thing I did not know. Your thyroid influences muscle tone, posture, and energy. I mean, I knew energy, but I did not know that your thyroid influences posture. There was a study by NIH in 2021 that found that a deficiency in iodine can cause muscle fatigue and poor posture indirectly via thyroid dysfunction. Who the fuck knew? Isn't that so interesting? And bonus, obviously, since we talked about weight a little bit in this episode, also, obviously, iodine affects the thyroid, which affects metabolism, weight, yada, yada, yada. Okay, our number 2 food that makes you blush for the week is avocados, arguably the healthiest fat source out there, and it's really good for your skin. So it's rich in monosaturated fats, which are the ones that I was saying that you should primarily be eating, especially oleic acid that reinforce the lipid barrier in the skin. It's packed with vitamin E, which is a really powerful antioxidant for collagen and skin tone. It helps with the absorption of fat soluble nutrients like A, D, E, and K from other foods in your meal, which all of those are really important for your skin. And studies show that avocado consumption improves skin elasticity and hydration. And if you want that study, you could look at Yoon et al. From 2021 in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology. The third food that makes you blush for this week is lemons. They are great for liver health, not because they quote unquote detox you, but because they're rich in vitamin C, which helps synthesize glutathione, which is your liver's master antioxidant. It also contains citric acid, which can help prevent the buildup of fat in the liver by supporting bile flow. Again, fat in the liver is not caused from fat that we eat. It's caused from excess calories. Number 4, lentils. By the way, these foods aren't in any specific order. They all kind of serve different functions. I just want to get that out there. Lentils, they're great for weight management and blood sugar regulation. So they're really rich in soluble fiber and resistant starch, which, as we've talked about before, feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut. And when that beneficial bacteria, aka the probiotics, eat the soluble fiber and the resistant starch, they ferment it and they produce what's called short chain fatty acids. We also call those postbiotics sometimes. And those short chain fatty acids then increase the GLP-1 in your body. And as you probably know from people talking about Ozempic and Mounjaro and those popular weight loss shots, GLP-1 is a hormone that actually signals to your brain that you're full, and it kind of quiets food noise, and it can really, really help with weight management. Lentils are also rich in folate and polyphenols, which support both gut and liver health. So that's amazing. And our last food that makes you blush for this week are strawberries. Strawberries are great for the skin, for the liver, for the gut. They're rich in vitamin C, which boosts collagen synthesis. They have something called ellagic acid. I can't imagine that that's how it's pronounced, but I truly don't know how the fuck it is pronounced. So we're going to roll with that, which is a polyphenol that reduces skin inflammation and helps prevent UV-induced collagen breakdown. It also has fiber and antioxidants that support the I think I've completely forgotten how to speak today, that support gut, liver, skin access and also help with satiety, which, as we know, helps with food noise and weight management, yada, yada, far more than cutting out fats would. Please don't cut out fats. Truly, please don't do it. And that brings us to the end of the show, where we do a gratitude segment where I list 3 things that I'm grateful for this week. And the reason that I do this is because it's an invitation for you to list 3 things that you're grateful for this week. And the reason that we're all doing this is because having a regular gratitude practice is scientifically proven to make you a happier and more optimistic person. So as I'm listing mine, I'd really like it if you could think of 3 things that you're grateful for. The only key is you don't want to just pick the top of mind things. I encourage you to really scan through your day and find 3 new things to be grateful for. So I'm grateful for everyone who's been sharing the Blush Kitchen episode. I appreciate it so much. I've seen that I've been tagged in my stories a bunch of times. I'm going to reshare them after I'm done filming this year. As I said, I enjoyed doing Blush Kitchen so much, and I just hope you guys love it too. Listen, it's the first episode. It's not going to be the best. Like I said, I lost my train of thought a lot. I have a lot of notes for myself on how to make it better going forward, but I really, not to toot my own horn, but I kind of think it's a little bit like Meghan Markle's Netflix show, only it's actually good, you know? Yikes. But I mean, it is. I am grateful. I'm grateful to my friend Sophia, who encouraged me to order this dress in white. I mean, how fucking chic is she? Like, die for her. And I'm grateful. Oh my God, I'm grateful that I found out that I've been doing double cleansing wrong. I'm so excited to start doing it right and see what happens. Okay. And this week and every week, I'm so grateful for you guys. I love you guys so much. I seriously appreciate you guys tuning in so much. You know, the show is free for you, but you do pay in your time and your attention, and I do not take that for granted. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'd really like it if you could share it with someone who you think would enjoy it also. And please enjoy the little outro that I created. And yeah, I love you guys. We'll talk next week. And until next week, stay cunty. But I don't need to say all this because it's in the outro now. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve getting the hang of it. Okay, whatever. Bye. Love you. If you loved that episode as much as I hope you did, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and check out some past episodes while you wait for the new one to drop next week. And until next week, make sure to stay cunty out there.